Hi, everyone. Hope you are having an amazing day. Today is Wednesday, September 23rd, and this is your second stimulus and news update where I give you a clear, concise, and detailed summary on the latest stimulus and pandemic news. Hit the bell button to stay notified. If you are new to the channel, please hit subscribe and the like button if you enjoy the content. In this video, I will be going over first the potential government shutdown and stimulus check, and second, the Supreme Court Justice nomination. Some amazing news yesterday night. Politicians finally got something done. Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced that the Democrats had reached a deal on legislation to fund the government through December 11th. So this essentially prevented a government shutdown when the funding was set to expire in just 8 days from now. So both sides seem to reach an agreement on the two remaining contentious issues between the Democrats and Republicans. Number one, $30 billion was left out for the fund that provides subsidies for farm prices, but an agreement was made on the total amount of farm aid for the farmers that were requesting this amount. Secondly, the Democrats reached an agreement to add $8 billion in food assistance for low-income children. So you can recall from yesterday's video, the two issues were the farm subsidies and this type of meal subsidy for low-income families. So in summary, this is great news because another government shutdown would have been just a complete disaster. And I wanted to just provide some context on why a shutdown would have been so bad in the current environment. So government shutdowns, what are they? So the government shutdowns in the United States occur when there is a failure to pass funding legislation for the next fiscal year. And currently there are many government agencies and programs which need annual funding appropriations passed by Congress annually. Although mandatory spending programs and essential services continue during a shutdown, the main public usually feels the impact of a shutdown in terms of slower and worse service than normal. So just as a background, in 1995-1996 shutdown that occurred, more than 10,000 Medicare applications were temporarily turned away every day of the shutdown. During the 2018 to 2019 shutdown, many national parks remained open, but there was reported a lack of visitor services and groundskeeping, such as garbage not being removed in a timely fashion. And also during the 2018-2019 shutdown, TSA agents were working without pay, and many travelers at airports had to deal with an increased delay through security and other airport services just because there was less people working at the airport. And there's also a huge secondary effect of a shutdown. Many government workers will be furloughed and not paid, and this will just further exacerbate unemployment situation in the United States. And also during the 2018-2019 partial shutdown, there was an estimated 400,000 government employees that were furloughed, and it's estimated nearly 500,000 government workers did work but didn't receive pay until the shutdown ended weeks later. So you can see during the Trump presidency, there's actually been 2 shutdowns during his time. And the last government shutdown from December 2018 to January 2019, almost 2 years ago, and this was a 35-day shutdown and was the longest in U.S. history. There was also a 16-day shutdown during the 2013 Obama era, and that was related to the Obamacare legislation. So just in summary, in regards to the second stimulus check, it's great the government shutdown has been avoided, and now a second stimulus check could still be potentially voted on in our discussed previous timeline of the end of September or early October. And this could mean potential payouts as early as, mid or end of October, just before the November 3rd election. The second stimulus check talks have been on hold for a few weeks, obviously from the government shutdown and the Supreme Court Justice nomination. But hopefully with more clarity on these subjects, politicians can now focus on their job and actually helping the American people and actually pass a second stimulus bill through Congress. Or maybe Trump will just have to step up and fund through an executive order, which I predicted. I think in the next 2 weeks, I think Trump will have to do this. And also in the stimulus news, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell will testify before 3 congressional committees this week to promote his idea of more stimulus. So pay a lot of attention to his testimony today, starting at 10 a.m. I think it will be on CNBC. And he's been quoted publicly as saying the lack of another direct payment will start to show up in economic activity. So it's going to show up in evictions, foreclosures, things that will scar and damage the economy, quote unquote. So he's supporting it publicly. So it'll be really interesting to note his testimony and to pay attention to what he says today at 10 a.m. So on to the Supreme Court Justice nomination news. We learned yesterday that the Republican Senate is in sync with Trump in trying to fill the Supreme Court Justice nomination role as soon as possible. And it looks highly probable Trump will be able to confirm his nomination with concise vote from the Republicans. Trump is set to announce his nominee on Saturday, and it looks like a very high probability he will be getting the backing of the Republican Senate. Republicans hold a slim 53 to 47 majority in the Senate, and he will need a 51 vote majority to confirm the nominee. It is interesting to note that no Supreme Justice nominee has been confirmed so close to an election day. It's literally like a month away, with the November 3rd election coming around the corner. For the Democrats, they also need a 51 vote majority to defeat the Supreme Justice nominee. So that means they will need just 4 Republican senators to decline the Supreme Justice nominee vote. But it looks like the Republicans have an edge here because one of those senators, Mitt Romney, came out publicly and said he will support Trump's nomination. He said Tuesday, quote unquote, that he was behind Trump and that he was okay with a conservative bias in the judges. Another interesting quote was provided by Senator Graham. The nominee is going to be supported by every Republican in the Judiciary Committee, Graham said. And he faces his own tough re-election in South Carolina. As he told Fox News, we've got the votes to confirm the justice on the floor of the Senate before the election, and that's what's coming, quote unquote. So just a little background on this. Republicans are arguing the Supreme Court nomination is valid and it should be voted on right now. And it's okay that it's so close before an election. They argue the election could be disputed with legal battles dragging on for weeks, and this would further hold up Supreme Court nominations going forward. On the other side, Joe Biden and Pelosi and the Democrats say that voters should have their say first on election day, and the winner of the White House election should fill the vacancy. So they're just saying, it's not constitutional to have the justice nomination so close to the actual presidential nomination. So we'll see how this all plays out on Saturday. Trump is set to announce, he announced on Twitter yesterday, quote unquote, I will be announcing my Supreme Court Justice nominee on Saturday at the White House. So just keep a close eye on the news reports and we'll see what happens on Saturday. Let's go over the COVID numbers quickly. So there was an uptick yesterday in the worldwide numbers, over 300,000 cases, but the data is from September 20th. So we have a 2-3 day delay. There's almost 7 million cases in the United States as of yesterday. So that's a very grim statistic. And over 200,000 deaths in the United States from coronavirus. So it's obviously a very huge and horrible thing so far. And in the United States, we had 48,000 infections as of September 22nd, 6.92 million cases. Texas had a huge amount of infections yesterday, over 4,000 new cases. And the gap between Texas and California in terms of overall infections is closing. California has 795,000 cases. Texas has almost 750,000 now. So the gap between the overall infections between California and Texas is closing. So the amount of infections in Texas is actually increasing very high. So you're caught up for today. Please have an awesome Wednesday. Stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.